We are truly standing on the shoulders of giants. There have been some amazing people that we have been privileged to listen to learn from over the years, that have crossed this stage, that have crossed all over the world, teaching us what we can say and what we can do to our people that we serve every single day. And for me, the biggest giant was Dr. Sid. And Dr. Sid was what I call a disruptor. A disruptor is someone who changes people's minds, who is able to, with their abilities, to express themselves in such a way that they can change how people think. And that's exactly what Dr. Sid did for me. My first DE, my first official DE was July 1993. But let me tell you why I went to that particular DE. Because a couple of weeks before that July 1993 DE, I was with a patient, and let's call her Jane. And Jane said to me, she said, you're a young doctor, you're recently married, and what I see in you is something so beautiful, but I have to tell you a story. Are you okay with me telling you a story? I said, sure. And she said, my husband worked day and night, 24 hours a day. This guy, he hardly slept, he worked on weekends, and he kept on saying, Jane, when we retire, that's when we're going to spend time. When we retire, that's when we're going to do all the things. When we retire, that's when we're going to travel, we're going to see the world, and we're going to have all this time together. Right now, we just have to push, and when we retire, that's when it's going to be you and me. And he recently retired, and unfortunately, guess what happened? He died of a heart attack. So she looked me in the eyes, and she said, don't let that happen to you. Don't let that happen to you. And that's beautiful advice, and I really took that to heart, but here's what was happening in my brain at that time. See, I'm a little guy from a little town in my brain. Right? I'm a little guy from a little town in Lynbrook. I lived in an apartment building. My parents had a one-bedroom apartment, and I slept on the pull-out couch. So in my brain, at that time, even though I graduated a couple of years before that, in my brain at that time, I was this little guy in this little town. And who am I to deserve? Who am I to become a doctor? I was the first person to graduate from college in my family, let alone become a doctor. Who am I to be a doctor? Who am I to run a business? So when she said this to me, I don't know what happened, but it all came crashing down. It was right around lunchtime. I went home and I spoke to my beautiful wife, and I was crying. And I said, Lisa, I cannot take this pain anymore. Everybody who comes in is dumping all this pain and all this pain and all this pain. And it was really wearing on me. But what really was the pain I was feeling, but I was blaming it outside. I was saying it's this. But it was really the pain I was feeling. And my beautiful wife says to me, let's go to DE one more time. Because we've been a few times when I was at school and a few times here and there, but I never took anything seriously. I said, all right, let's go one more time. July 1993. So we sat in the Waverly Ballroom, 2,000 people. I sat maybe 6 or 7 rows back. And Dr. Sid starts his Thursday afternoon stuff. And he says, maybe 10 minutes in, there was a garbage dump in Marietta. And this one developer said, I know what we're going to do in this garbage dump. We're going to flatten it out, we're going to put some dirt on it, and then we're going to build the mall of our dreams on top of this garbage. We're going to build the mall of our dreams on top of this garbage. And he turned, and I'm telling you this is what happened in my brain at least. He turned to look at me, and he pointed at me, and he said, you can build the practice of your dreams on top of the garbage. Now, I don't know what happened at that moment, but all of a sudden it was like a time warp. And I was like, he's right. Oh my God, like I had all this stuff, little guy from the little town, blah, 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 right? The little monkey in your head, right? Talking. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, he's right. I can build the practice of my dreams on top of this garbage. I don't have to excavate. He said, you don't have to excavate all stuff. You just put dirt on it, build. Build what you want. That changed my life. That disrupted my life. See, that's why I called him a disruptor. It disrupted it, right? I was headed in this direction. He went, headed me in a completely different direction. I thank God for that particular moment at DE because it changed everything. And one of the things that he said was, we accept all cases regardless of condition or financial ability to pay. Soon after this DE, I came home and several events happened in a really short period of time. This is one of them. This mama calls me up and says, I have this multiply disabled child, just born, a couple weeks old, having all these kind of problems. I heard you're like really great with this kind of stuff. Could you come to the house and adjust my baby? Because I can't even get out there. We only have one car. My husband has to work, but I really want you to take care of my baby. I walked into that house and was not expecting what I saw with all the tubes. They had almost like a hospital room in her little living room with all these tubes and IVs and stuff. And I did what Dr. Sid said to do, was I just adjusted her. I adjusted this little girl. And I did this 3 times a week on my lunch break for a year. And here's the thing where it says, so regardless of condition, right? And then her financial ability to pay, the mom's like, I can hardly afford anything. Will you just, I want the care, but I can't afford the care I know that she needs. And I said, you pay me whatever you can. Whatever you can. I don't care. I don't care what it is. You pay me whatever I can. I took Dr. Sid's words to heart, and I listened to it. And because of that, things changed. And then there was Dick Santo, another disruptor. This is yet another thing that happened right after this DE. So I went to DE, things started happening, everything started changing. And Dick Santo, at the time I was practicing in New Jersey, in Cresskill, and he's in Upper Saddle River. I said, oh my God, this is amazing. Dr. Santo, can I come visit you? He said, how about we go to lunch? So we meet at the Route 4 Diner. Everybody from New Jersey, we meet at the Route 4 Diner. And I'm wearing a tie because I always wore a tie at work at that time. And we sit down and he said, first sentence, take off the tie. I'm like, what? He said, take off the tie. And, why? Doesn't it match? No, take off the tie. And I could not understand why he was talking like this. And he said, why are you wearing a tie? I said, because it looks nice. He said, no. Why are you wearing a tie? Right? Just a little guy in a little town thing, right? So I said, well, because I'm a doctor, I'm supposed to wear a tie, right? Doctors wear ties in their offices. This is a circular table. He grabbed me from the tie across the table like this, pulled me like this. He said, take off the tie. I said, okay. I took off the tie, and he said, never wear that tie again in your office. He said, the doctor is in here. It's not in the tie. It's not all this outside stuff. The doctor is here, in your heart, in your hands. That's where the doctor is. And I took his messages to heart. And we met multiple more times after this. So that was at the first time I met him. It was so amazing. And once again, shortly after that, Mom and Dad bring in their beautiful daughter, 6 years old, carrying her because of a vaccine injury. And the dad places her on the bench. And this girl's got tubes and braces and all this stuff. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I heard Dr. Sid's words. Do what you're trained to do. Do what you're trained to do. I'm like, all right. And I adjusted her however I could. Right? Because he said, bring me your most difficult cases. Bring me the most difficult cases. And it's amazing because once you start thinking about this, this actually starts to happen, right? As you think, so shall you become, right? That's what was starting to happen over and over and over again. And another thing Dr. Santo taught me was always look in kids' eyes. And here's the real amazing thing. That right now, I'm a pediatric chiropractor. I've been doing this for many, many years. The number one reason why I see a kiddo in my practice is autism. And he said, look in their eyes. He said, kids will look in your eyes if you look at them. And we've all heard the nonsense that says, children on the spectrum, they won't look in your eyes. Yes, they will if you're right with them here. If you're right with them here, they will look in your eyes. Here's an example. It's one of my favorite pictures of all time. A mom took this picture. Here's a 16-year-old young lady who was significantly impaired with autism. This is the first time she ever looked in someone else's eyes except for her mother and her older sister. And she's not only looking in my eyes, what else is she doing? She's touching me. She's realizing there's a world outside of herself. And she's touching my beard like this. So, looking in their eyes is another really important thing. Do not let someone dissuade you to say, well, these kids won't look in your eyes. Yes, they will if you're right here. And then there's Dr. Paul Roses. I don't think I ever told you this, Paul. Soon after that DE, right, I met with Dr. Santo, and I knew Dr. Roses was in Bayonne. And I said, hey, that's not far. So I called up and I said, hey, I want to come visit your practice. He said, sure, come on down. I cannot believe what I saw that day because the possibility of what was potentially there, Dr. Rosa showed me, because family after family after family after family, mom, dad, kids, mom, dad, kids, mom, dad, kids. In that one morning I spent with him, it was like 150, 200 people. I was like, oh, this is possible. Like I heard it from the platform. I heard all these speakers saying this, but I never saw it, right? Now I saw it because of Dr. Roses, and he was able to help me with that. So thank you, Paul. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That disrupted my brain, right? I saw something that I didn't think was possible. I only heard about, and now I saw it with my own two eyes. And then, this is just the coolest thing. This is what happened, like in a small bit of time, right? So, go to DE, Santo, Roses, and then the Bergenfield sidewalk sale. Now, I've done this Bergenfield sidewalk sale every year since I opened up in Crestfield, and it was always a really good thing. We always got 4, 5, 6 new patients, whatever. That DE changed me so much. 60 new patients. 60 new patients. Everything changed in like a couple of weeks. Like holy cow. It was like I was driving with the brake on, and all of a sudden I realized I had an accelerator. And that's what DE was for me, was the accelerator. I learned how to accelerate. And at that sidewalk sale, one of my first Kid Miracle patients came in. He was a healthy young kiddo, and all of a sudden he couldn't walk. All of a sudden he couldn't walk. He went to doctor, can't figure out why couldn't walk, blah, blah, blah. Few adjustments, walking. Right? And that's him in this picture here. All this happened in like a couple of weeks' time. Right? My whole life shifted. So it's not that it takes like forever to shift. It takes an instant for things to shift. But once it shifted, it was amazing. It was totally amazing. And Dr. Umber, when the thing that he embodies is lasting purpose, and the way he embodies lasting purpose, and what I learned from him, is he always remembers my name and my wife's name. And he remembers things about what's going, hey, what's happening with this? I heard you're doing this. I mean, that's unbelievable. But you know what that was? You know what that is? That's being magnetic. Right? That's what I took from his lessons, is being magnetic. Because what happened is, by learning about people and knowing about people, and all patients, now when they come in, I say, hey, how was the Chinese football game? How was this? How was that? Right? He taught me to do that. He taught me that. And that allows magnetic things to happen. So from that point on, from that DE on, I have been a new patient magnet, sucking them in, and especially bringing in the patients that I want to see. The patients that I like to see. My favorite kiddo to see now is a child on the spectrum. So that's why 50% of my practice is kids on the spectrum, because that's what I have willed it to be. And then, my favorite disruptor after Dr. Sid, my favorite disruptor, Dr. Larry Webster. Dr. Larry Webster was my teacher at life, founder of the ICPA that I speak for. This conversation was another one of those life-changing conversations. He's adjusting my son here, Palmer. He's adjusting my son like this, and he's done adjusting him. And what was really cool about this particular adjustment is it brought me back full circle. Because I honestly, until this adjustment, did not remember or did not connect the reason why I became a chiropractor. See, when I was 5 years old, I was swimming in a pool. I had a horrible asthma attack, my first asthma attack out of nowhere. Thank God my parents were watching and they pulled me out of the pool, took me to the pediatrician. He did whatever he had to do to get that asthma attack to stop. But here's what happens. In the 1960s, you have an asthma attack like that. Now you're given certain things to do. So I was given inhalers to start puffing on and all these drugs to start taking. And my immune system went shh. Because all the cortisone and corticosteroids I was puffing on with the albuterols and stuff was dropping my immune system. So I got sick. So now fast forward 10 years, I'm now 10 years old, from 5 years old to 10 years old. I'm so sick all the time. Tonsillitis multiple times a year. And they finally said, we have to take out your tonsils. So I'm in the hospital, and they're about to take out my tonsils. And the nice surgeon says to me, Drew, guess what? When we take out your tonsils, you'll never have tonsillitis again. So isn't that great? And being the feisty kid that I was, I said, of course I won't have tonsillitis again. I won't have tonsils. And my mom goes, whack! Like, be nice to the doctor. Right? But when you don't have tonsils, right, because they're unnecessary, when you don't have tonsils, now what happens? Now I get sicker. Because now the Marines aren't there anymore, right? The first line of defense, not there anymore. So now I get bronchitis and pneumonia and sick. My fast forward 10 more years. I'm now SUNY Albany in New York, 20 years old, in between my junior and senior year, pre-med. My mom goes to a chiropractor for guess why? Back pain. But this chiropractor is a DE chiropractor. Says to my mom, you got to bring your son in. He's sick like this, you got to bring your son in here. Let's see if we can help him. So she drags me kicking and screaming to this guy. I'm like, oh, back pain, like, what's going on? He says to me, how long have you been suffering like this? 15 years. You getting any better? No. He said, if you want something different, you got to do something different. Right? Now the time warp, like, wow. Right? That's why I decided to become a chiropractor. I started getting adjusted in June of 1984. By September 84, when I went back to SUNY Albany, threw out that inhaler. Right? But what happened is here, when Dr. Webster was adjusting my kiddo and talking to me, all of a sudden I reconnected. That's why I want to be a chiropractor. That's what drove me to be a chiropractor in the first place, was one to take care of kids. So he says to me, Drew, what I want you to do is focus on autism. I want you to focus on autism. And I said, autism? This is 1995. Autism? Like, what's autism? Back then, it was like over here, right? 1 in 500. I was like, okay, like, you hardly mentioned it in class. He said, Drew, something's coming. Something is coming. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I just saw 17 kiddos on the spectrum in the last year, and I adjusted them all, and 15 out of 17 had amazing results. And listen, this is what he said. He said, I want you to make sure you check C1 left on these kiddos. C1 left on these kiddos. He said, that seems to be a really big thing with these kids. He said, we need more autism warriors out there. I want you to be one of them. And, a lot of times people tell you stuff you don't necessarily pay attention to and say, oh, yeah, thanks, Doc, right? This time I was like, okay, because I'm listening now, right? Dr. Sid opened my mind, right? He disrupted my mind, and now I'm open for disruption. So now this disruption occurs, and now I start taking care of more and more kiddos on the spectrum. You also made me get this table from him. So this is one of those Webster Gear tables you may have seen. I love this thing. We're at a seminar, and he said, Drew, I want you to buy this table. I said, I don't want the table. How am I going to fit in my car? He said, I don't care, just take it. And I'm so glad that I did, because this is one of the last tables he himself made. And then he passed away a couple of years later. And it sits in my office, and we used it yesterday, adjusting the kids, and we use it every single day, and they love this thing. So it is my reminder in my office. I look at that, and I remember Dr. Webster saying the stuff that he said to me that changed how I practice. It changed the focus of my practice into what it is now. So I'm going to give you a couple of Websterisms. To really set you on a different pediatric journey. Number one, kids are not little adults. Kids are not little adults. That's a super important thing to understand, because most of the time what happens is you say, I'll take this adult adjustment and I'll smush it into a kid package. That's not how it works. That's why the ICPA was formed. The ICPA was formed by Dr. Webster to show people that, yeah, Johnson's a great technique, and Thompson's great, and full spine's great, and all the other things are great, but pediatrics is a different thing. You have to change your vectors, change your understanding, change the way you are thinking about them, because they are different little creatures at different ages. Like newborns are different than toddlers, that are different than preschoolers, that are different than school-age kids. You've got to change each time you're adjusting, not just the forces. It's not just about the forces. It's about what's here going into their little brains, right? I love looking at babies. One of my favorite things to do is look at babies. Just look in your eyes. We look at babies, and babies, like, I always have students say to me, well, how do you get babies to sit still? I said, if you're right here, I sit them like on mom and dad's lap, and I look in their eyes, and they just go, and they will melt in there. Well, how do you do leg checks? Their legs drop. They just know. They know what's happening because they want that. And the coolest thing is when you're adjusting a baby and you're looking in their eyes, you will melt into the distance that goes between your eyes and theirs. You will just melt into that, and they will see you and you will feel it. And there's a connection, a non-verbal connection that happens with a baby that happens with nothing else. But here's the cool thing. It also happens with kids on the spectrum who are minimally speaking. That same feeling that you get, they'll look at you because you're beyond their left atlas, and like, in their little brains, like, that's it, right? So that's why it's so important to study kids and study how you're adjusting them. That's a disruptive idea from Dr. Webster. Gonstead said, we all know Gonstead, everybody had to take Gonstead, you know. Gonstead said, find it, fix it, leave it alone. Webster said there's a corollary to that. That corollary is don't adjust everything you find. Don't adjust everything you find. Now that is a bit different than what we have been taught before, because what we've all been taught is like, you find a subluxation, you fix it. You find a subluxation, you fix it. And that's absolutely true. But sometimes in the beginning, as an example, with a lot of these kiddos who are minimally speaking on the spectrum, I can't touch their necks. They will literally bat my hands away from the neck like this because they're so hypersensitive. So Dr. Webster said, do you have to adjust their neck at first, the first time you meet them? No, how else can you get to their cervical neurology? What else can you touch that'll affect their cervicals from somewhere else? Extremities. So I will figure out, I need a left atlas for this kiddo. All right, so I'm going to adjust the left wrist, the left elbow, the left shoulder, the left scapula, and because they'll let me touch this. And eventually, they'll let you touch their necks, but maybe not in the beginning. And that's what you have to understand, right? This is the psyche that you have to get into when you're learning about kids. That you don't, like, yes, I want to adjust that atlas, but he's not letting me touch him. I'm not going to force an atlas adjustment on him. I will do this adjustment on the arm for several adjustments until he lets me get to the areas I want to go to, right? So this is what Webster would call this is patient-led adjusting. The patient is telling me what to do. The patient is telling me what's okay or not okay. Disruptive, right? Very disruptive idea. Last of the 3 Webster-isms I'm going to give you. Fix the top and bottom, and you're fixing 90% of the kids' issues. This was so huge because, and it goes along with the second one, but if you really think about it, most kids today, where are they born stuck? Sympathetics. They're stuck in sympathetics. Their birth was hard. There are lots of lights, a lot of noises, a lot of people, right? A lot of action, right? So they're stuck in sympathetics. A lot of these kids never get out of it. How do you know a kiddo is stuck in sympathetics? What's happening? What symptoms are they going to present if they're stuck in sympathetics? Colic and reflux? Constipation? Sleep issues? Crying a lot? Right? Yeah, tight like this, tight like a drum, right? All those things show that this kid is stuck in sympathetics. And most of the babies we see, if they were not getting adjusted, mom wasn't getting adjusted while she was pregnant, most of these babies are like, right? You're gonna have, so what is the 3 things a baby's supposed to do? Eat, poop, sleep. What are the 3 things a kid in sympathetics will not be able to do well? Eat, poop, sleep. Right? So Webster said, don't hit the sympathetics in the beginning. Don't mess with the sympathetics with these kids. Adjust atlas, upper cervical, cranial stuff. Adjust sacrum, pelvis. Let everything else go just for the beginning. Right? You can get to all this stuff later when they calm down. We got to calm down their nerve system. That is, and he didn't know this back then because it didn't exist, but that's from, I don't know how many guys have seen or read about the polyvagal theory. How many guys know about the polyvagal theory? Yeah. Huge. If you do, it's getting hot here. Where's me? Okay. Polyvagal theory is huge. So, very quick rundown of the polyvagal theory. I was taught in school, probably you guys were taught in school, the autonomic nerve system works like this, right? Sympathetics, parasympathetics, sympathetics, parasympathetics, sympathetics, parasympathetics. Dr. Porges, Stephen Porges, who developed the polyvagal theory, said, no, that's not how it works. The way that the autonomic nerve system works is like a ladder. It's like a ladder. Bottom rung of the ladder, dorsal vagus. Dorsal vagus. Diaphragm and below. That's what we've been taught, rest and digest. Right? That's dorsal vagus, down here. The next rung of the ladder, sympathetics. Fight or flight. Right? So sympathetics is all over, but it's fight or flight. Most kiddos who are coming into our practice are either stuck in fight or flight. And how do you know a kid's stuck in fight or flight? What are they doing in your office? They're either running around like a maniac or they're screaming like a banshee. Screaming like a banshee, fight or flight, right? So that's sympathetics. Kids who are stuck in the dorsal vagus, what are they doing? Right? They're frozen. Right? Fight or flight is running around or screaming, crying. Dorsal vagus, freeze. They're the ones like this. Right? Into this, all about themselves, or scared, very, very extremely timid, right? That's freeze. But then, this is what Porges found, there's a third level to the autonomic system. Not 2, 3 levels. The third level is called the ventral vagus. Ventral vagus. The ventral vagus, social engagement. The ventral vagus determines whether something is safe and trustworthy. The ventral vagus, like right now, for me, my ventral vagus is on. And I'm surveying the room like this. And this looks very friendly, and you guys are all paying attention and all looking happy and stuff like that. So it's like a radar like this. It's safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. Here's the difference with the kiddos on the spectrum. They don't feel safe. They are not in ventral vagus. They first come into your offices. They are scared out of their minds. Either they're screaming, crying, running around, or they're frozen like this. Our job as a chiropractor, get them to ventral vagus. Their ventral vaguses are dysregulated. They are not turned on for whatever reason. But how can we get to the ventral vagus? Atlas, Cranium. Because the vagus nerve runs right here. It goes from the temporal bone, jugular foramen, down like this, and very close to the atlas like this, before it goes deep into the neck. So if we do an atlas adjustment, or we do some cranial work on them in however style you want to do it, that's how we can reach the ventral vagus in these kids, and we see them calm down. And that is so amazing and so beautiful. Disruptive. These things are very disruptive. Webster was teaching stuff way ahead of his time, way before anybody knew about this kind of stuff. So we need to be disruptive by focusing on the kids and showing them a different way, showing them a different style, showing them a different form of adjustment. This is why we need more pediatric-based chiropractors. This is an example of what I see with kids happening all the time. So we see a couple weeks ago, I had a kiddo come into the practice, and he's about 15 years old, and this is what I saw him for the first visit. And he was just amazing. He was able to do this, and he was watching Paw Patrol, and he was going like this, and playing the same 3 seconds of Paw Patrol. 1, 2, 3. Because the little, like, chase or whatever the person it was saying, 1, 2, 3, like getting ready to do, chase someone. Right? So he's going, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He did that like 10 minutes. That's amazing precision that he's able to control. I can't do that. I don't know how. To get at the same exact spot over and over and over again, that's precision. Why do you think he put this thing next to his eyes like this? What was he trying to do? What was he doing? He's hiding. Right? Freeze. Dorsal vagus. Right? He's in freeze response. So instead of doing this, he's holding the phone like this. He's hiding. Number one. That's the number one reason that he's doing it. And number two is something he can control. Imagine being in an environment that you can't control things. Like this room, as beautiful as this is a horrifyingly tough room for a kiddo on a level 3 autism spectrum. Number one, the echo of this thing would be like, "Duh," because of their ears. And the projectors and the lights and the air conditioning, all these noises and all the chattering and stuff, like they would not be able to be happy in this room at all. Right? That's what we have to understand. We have to make our offices safe for them. So what we have learned over the years with our kiddos on the spectrum is the first several visits are not about getting the job done. You know, you heard that thing, just move the bone, right? Gonstead, just move the bone. Yes, we want to move the bone. But in the beginning, the thing is not just move the bone, it's just build trust. Just build trust. Just build safety. Get them to realize that you are a safe place for them. You're not going to force them. You're not going to push them. Because that's what they need. Because once you build safety with these kiddos, now you got them. Now they'll do whatever. But you got to build that safe place first. That safe haven first. Here's another kiddo I want to show you a video of. Before I show you this video, I'm going to tell you it's going to be a little upsetting. This kid's going to hit his head pretty hard. One thing that was never talked about until more recently is becoming trauma-informed. So before I show you this, I want to inform you, just in case you have some feelings about this, I want you to be aware of it, A. And B, I want you to understand the concept of trauma-informed, because we don't want to re-traumatize someone if they've been through something or going through something, right? So that's why, as an example, and you'll see this child, after he's hitting his head, you don't want to do something forceful, because he's already kind of in that fight or flight mode. So we want to do something gentle with these kind of kids to build that trust. So watch what happens with this video. Hello? It worked on my computer. You see to get this video to work? Thank you. Oh dear. All right. Doesn't matter. So, when this kid was hitting his head, he was not hitting his head like, tap, tap. He was hitting his head going, boom. And you could hear it. That's what I was hoping you could hear. You could hear it going like this. Why do kids like this hit their heads? Are they trying to hurt themselves? Are they trying to give themselves a concussion? No. Why are they doing it? Because they're in control. It's called prediction. Prediction. The brain is a prediction machine. It likes doing things predictable. So even though, like you and I, if we had hit our heads the way this kiddo hit his head, you and I would like get a concussion, get headaches, etc. They don't feel pain the way we feel. They have a different degree of sensation. So when they're hitting their heads like this, the reason they're doing it is called stimming. S-T-I-M-M-I-N-G, stimming. It's just kind of like this, it's this sort of thing, but for this kiddo, it's hitting his head to calm themselves down because it's predictable, right? I can predict this, I can predict what I feel, I can predict what I do, I can do this over and over again, and even though you and I look at that and say, gosh, it would hurt, but for these kiddos, it doesn't hurt in the same way. For them, it's actually comforting. Right? That's why we need more PhD-based chiropractors, because this is now 1 in 31 children. 1 in 5 children born today will have a neurological issue. 1 in 5. Who else is going to take care of them? Who else is going to take care of them? Right? Do you think all the other health providers out there have any clue how to take care of these kiddos? We're the ones who are taking care of their brains and nerve systems. That's why we need more pediatric chiropractors out there. This kiddo, 4 years old, never took a step. They said he can't walk, he can't stand up. 6 months. 6 months he's standing. 6 months he's standing. This is the kind of stuff that you can do, that we all can do. But here's the thing, and reason why I show this picture, and the next couple of pictures, because neuroplasticity takes time. Neuroplasticity takes time. And we have to explain that to the patients because they're so used to, like, I can't believe she didn't text me back. I just texted, how come she didn't, right? That's what we're so used to. We have to teach them it doesn't work like that with brains and nerve systems. Brains and nerve systems takes time to shift the attention from where the trajectory of where it was going to a different trajectory. Now the kid is standing up. Next thing he'll be doing is walking. Now let's see if this video can play it. That's great. This child, autism, never said a word. Started talking. Before this, it was just gibberish. Blah, 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 blah. Now, when someone says they can't, well, the healthcare providers say they can't, or the teachers say they can't. What that means is they can't help. They can't help. Doesn't mean that we can't help. Now, does this happen to every kid on the spectrum? No. Is this part of my goals? Do I say, we're going to get the kid to speak? No. My goal is get their brain and nerve system working better by removing subluxations. That's my goal. That's the goal. Here's another example. This little kiddo, echolalia. Which means repeating the words that someone says. If I say hi, he says hi. If I say bye, he says bye. Right? There was no conversation. It was only like parroting. Right? If I said something, he would say it. If Mom said something, he would just repeat back. One day he walks in, about 6 months into care. He walks up, we have these words all over the office, and he walks up and says this. I'm like, huh? Right? So I run in the back, I get my cell phone, and I'm holding it. That's why it's kind of off, because I'm like, say it again, right? Now he's in high school, no autism diagnosis. Now, is this me? No. This is any of us. any of us and all of us, students and docs, we put our hands on those subluxations and help remove those subluxations, and we change lives. Now, to what extent will they change? I have no idea. Like I said, do they all go from minimally speaking to talking? No. But it's possible. And here's the thing, you never know which one. You never know which one. So adjust them all. Adjust them all. Right? One of my favorite sayings that Dr. Webster used to say is you never know if someone in your office now, some kiddo in your office, some kids like that back there, will be president of the United States at some point. How do you know? Wouldn't that be cool? If some kiddo that we adjust 40 years from now is becoming president of the United States and remembers that great care that they got in your office. Wow. Right? Right? Powerful. Halloween's coming up. We have a big Halloween bash scheduled in our clinic. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have a theme. We don't tell anybody the theme. They have to guess what the theme is. Right? And if they win, if they get it right, they get a Starbucks gift card. So every year we have this amazing Halloween party, have for like 20-something years. We dress up, we have all kinds of goodies for the kids and stuff, and just throw a big bash because kids love this sort of stuff. And it's a safe place. Our office is a safe place. They know that what all the goodies they get from us, gluten-free and dairy-free. They know everything I give out in our office is all safe for these kids. So a lot of moms say, thank you so much for providing this safe place for my kid on Halloween, because we go trick-or-treating and we can't eat any of this candy. We go to the trunk or treat, at some school or church or whatever, I can't eat any of this kind of stuff. Or my kid gets overwhelmed. Here, you know how to do it for our kids. Right? And here's me adjusting a dinosaur. When I was a little one, I wanted to be a paleontologist, so this is the closest I guess I'll ever become to a paleontologist, is adjusting a dinosaur. So here's a beautiful picture one of my patients sent to me. She said, and she allowed me to use it, she said, this mom, her oldest daughter is 10 and her youngest is little like this, and she said, I've been getting adjusted now, and my kids have been getting adjusted since they're all in my belly. And I get why they need chiropractic, and here's an example. Right? Because look at her crazy posture, right? Now I know that's not the only reason why she needs to get adjusted, her little one here. But here's the thing, it's the words that Santo and Sigafus and Umber and Grossum and Satili and all those people before us have given to us so we can say those same words to our patients, right? So it's this full circle thing, right? They gave to us, and now it's in us, and now we give it to them, and it makes the world a better place. Now, I have a podcast, I don't know if you guys know this, so I love recording some kind of things, so check it out if you're interested. But the reason I'm showing you this is not about my podcast, it's because you all need to do podcasts. It's easy. It's easy to post a podcast. You just record something, 5, 10 minutes, 15, however long, and post it and create your own podcast. You guys need to write blogs. I mean, the internet is filled with junk. It is filled with junk. Let's fill it with what we do. Right? We need to fill the internet with what we do. If all of you guys sent out something once a week, every single week, then the internet would start to get crammed with chiropractic stuff. Right? And it's not just Facebook and Instagram. Those are great, and TikTok and stuff, but you've got to do something that has an anchor to it. Right? An anchor, like a podcast is an anchor, a website is an anchor. We need to have an anchored place for people to go to. Not some random place that has a zillion other pictures, but an anchor place. This is my website, my podcast, my blog. So get our chiropractic message out there. Another great thing that Dr. Sid said at that first DE when I was there in 1993 that changed everything. He said, you got to study chiropractic between DEs and between seminars. And he said the best thing to do is read green books. So when we were there, my wife and I went to the Life campus and we bought The Bigness of the Fellow Within, which is my recommended starting point for all green books, is The Bigness of the Fellow Within. It is a beautiful book. One of my favorite stories in that book is called This Inner Power Speaks. And you've probably all heard it. This Inner Power Speaks. I love BJ's writing, even though The Bigness is quite a thick book, it's an amazing book to buy. Life University does sell it. We got to read books. We have to read the source, right? We have to read Lasting Purpose. I saw it's out there. We got to read the source. So, DE, you guys, I'm from New Jersey, so everybody say you guys to everything, right? You guys are the next generation of disruptors. We got a big job to do. There's a lot of craziness happening out there. I don't have to even go into that. There's a lot of craziness out there. We have to be the rocks in our community. We have to be steadfast in our community. We have to deliver our chiropractic adjustments to our babies that are out there, to the toddlers, to the preschoolers, to the school-age kids, to the kids on the spectrum, to the kid athletes. This is our time to disrupt, our time to change the world. Because my job, by speaking for the ICPA, teaching at Life University, doing all the things that I do, I want to protect our future. I'm asking you, we need more kiddos getting adjusted. More kiddos getting adjusted, and more pregnant mamas getting adjusted. Because this is our future. We are going to change the future by adjusting one kiddo at a time. Thank you so much.